Me Grimlock, not park attraction or big game. Have trouble with pronouns. Hello again, Transformer fans. This is Sparkster1701, and today I've got possibly one of the most requested and sought-after Transformers from the Generation 1 line. You've all wanted Dinobots, so I figured about now I should do a Dinobot. And if we're going to start talking Dinobots, let's start with the most famous one, the 1985 Dinobot leader, Grimlock. A Grimlock was available in 1985 with the other Dinobots. They would also be available in 1986. Grimlock and the others would be discontinued in 1987, and we would not get a replacement Dinobot commander until Grimlock was reissued in 1990 as an Action Master. Grimlock would return to the line the year before, in 1989, as a legendary character who knocks down his original, as well as a pretender. Grimlock was an instant hit with many of the young fans of the animated Transformers cartoon, so a lot of credit for Grimlock's popularity does go out to his voice actor, Greg Berger, who does celebrate a birthday here the day after this video gets posted. So, happy birthday to you, Greg. Greg also voiced in the cartoon the Constructicon Longhaul and Jetfire. He's also famous for a lot of other voices in the cartoon worlds, as he also was the voice and noise for Odie and Orson in the Garfield and Friends cartoon. Berger also did the barks for Odie in the live-action Garfield movies, but went uncredited for that role. Thankfully, when they released the Transformers Devastation video game taking place in the G1 universe, he was brought back in to reprise his role as our beloved Dinobot leader. As a toy here, Grimlock suffers a little bit on his articulation, especially in the robot mode. He can move his arms up at the shoulder, if he'll hold his sword properly. But of course, the dinosaur body gets in the way of full shoulder rotation. His legs can be kicked out to the side, so he can kick aside into stubborn Dinobots or annoying Decepticons. But of course, we wouldn't put it past Grimlock to kick anybody around that he doesn't like. One of the biggest drawbacks for Grimlock's toy is the fact that he comes with 3 handheld weapons, but he can only hold 2 of them at one time. He's not holding his missile launcher, and you'll see that piece a little later in the video. Now we'll transform Grimlock into possibly his most famous alternate mode, as Grimlock has appeared in the numerous Transformers media. We'll start out by removing the weapons he does have in him. Then next, we take Grimlock's legs here, and we have him do a splits. Like that. Anybody here think that Grimlock should have joined the girls down in Rio this year? Once his legs are at the splits, you want to push along this black portion here against his waist to bring his legs fully down. And then you're going to grab his feet and fold them up into his backside. And once they're folded up, you take the two pieces of his tail and just fold them down and connect them. Next, for his arms, grab here behind the fist and just slide it down so the dinosaur legs cover his hands. Just that simple. Then next, we will detach the chest and fold it down over the red piece of his waist to put the legs in the proper position. Then next, we get the sides of the dinosaur body and close them in around his head. Then lastly, bring the dinosaur head up and snap it into place. And there we have it, folks. Grimlock in his most famous and well-known mode, a Tyrannosaurus Rex. So that was the mode we have long been wanting him to see, and if he's as something else, it never compares to the original. And that was one of the few things that we all could get excited about when the announcement for Age of Extinction came that the Dinobots would finally be joining the other Transformers on the big screen. Although I'm kind of mixed as to how Grimlock was basically depicted mostly as a steed for Optimus Prime to ride in battle. That just took something away from what we know and love about Grimlock. As you can see, he's more done up as a mechanical Tyrannosaurus Rex, and that traces back to his origins as a Diaclone toy, as he was part of the Dinosaur Robo series. This section right here on his backside that pulls out a little bit, this is actually a cockpit area for the little Diaclone men that would have come with the original version of the toy. So in that version, Grimlock would have been a piloted mecha, or basically a piloted battle walking tank done up like a dinosaur, for those of you who are not familiar with the terminology. Now, as a dinosaur, Grimlock does have a fair amount of articulation, a little bit more than what his robot mode does. The head can be adjusted to some degree. That's about the only real disappointment with the head. You really don't get a lot of movement with it, but on the plus side, you do get to open the mouth. That's as far open as it can get. So it at least does give the impression of being a fierce monster. And these teeth aren't sharp in there at all, so you're not going to lose a finger if he decides to bite you. Let go of me. The little small arms do rotate. They do have full entire rotation, so they can be put in various poses. And he does have quite a bit of range of motion with his foot. Unfortunately, it doesn't have it in the ankle, but since he does adjust at the hip a bit, so you can either put the legs or the whole body in assorted poses. All in all, the dinosaur mode is rather impressive, considering what we got with the robot. Let's take a look at Grimlock's accessories, and he had a wealth of accessories for a toy of his size. The first one I want to point out to you is one that's not listed in just about any source at all. This is a clear chest shield that is attached to the toy. It is made of clear plastic and just has the one sticker on it. It attaches on 4 points on here. Three of them on this sample are broken, unfortunately, from repeated removal, but it is worth pointing this out to you. So if you get a Grimlock that looks like this, it doesn't have it, goes right here. If you have this, then you are missing this piece, and your toy technically is not complete, so be on the lookout for that, collectors. Now, for the rest of his accessories, we will start with this weird gun of his. This is his twin stunner laser gun. And I want you to take particular notice of it here on the front. The barrels are off-centered. They are not both pointing straight. One of them is at a slightly downward angle. This is not from any warping or play damage. This is how it is intended to be. Just tilted here to the sides a little bit so you can try to see that is how it is. This was how it was designed. So if you find one like this, it is not broken, it's not damaged. This is how it is supposed to be. All in all, this is a rather interesting gun. It's certainly different from what we got most often in the line. It does feature an ammo clip down here at the bottom. All in all, rather impressive weapon. And of course, next up, we have his Energo sword. It's basically just a red piece of plastic. All the Dinobots came with their own swords, and all of them are different. This harkens back to their original Diaclone toys, as they came with swords, but their swords were chromed, whereas the Hasbro ones, likely to save on costs, were instead made of red plastic. Kind of detracts from the look a little bit, instead of giving us this shiny metallic chrome weapon, but in a sense it does kind of harken to the lightsaber from Star Wars. Now, let's be honest, folks, who wouldn't want to see Grimlock wielding a lightsaber? And then next, we have the weapon you didn't see him holding earlier. This is his rocket launcher. It is known as a Galaxial rocket launcher. And like all of the launchers that was done early on in the Transformer line, the spring in it is gone. It has been neutered to deal with U.S. toy laws at the time, so it only holds missiles. It cannot launch them. And as you can see here, these three chrome pieces here, these are Grimlock's missiles. Here's one up close for you on the camera. Now, his fellow Dino buddy Sludge comes with similarly shaped missiles. The biggest thing to note about them, Grimlock's are silver chromed. Sludge is gold chrome. So bear that in mind when you're looking at loose missiles. Grimlocks are silver, Sludge is gold. One would think that should be the other way around, but that's how it turned out. Alright, moving right along with our favorite Dino buddy, we will move on to show off his instructions. These are the instructions for Grimlock, done in the new style that was becoming the norm in 1985. That shows off all the loose parts that Grimlock had, save for, again, the chest shield. And we go through the not-so-complicated conversion. Looks more difficult than it actually is. Part of this also comes from Playware. As you can tell, just by looking at this one, he's seen quite a few adventures. And here we go on to the other side. And right here they have showing off how to get him to hold many of the weapons, but not all of them. And then, of course, how to put the stickers on him. And lastly, we come to the last page where it shows off the rub sign that was new to the line in 1985. Rub sign here is on Grimlock's left foot, down there at the bottom. Right about there. You probably can't really see it this far from the camera, but it is right there. Trust me on that, folks. Also shows all mentions about saving robot points to mail in for rare transformers, and how to read the tech specs. But before we get to the tech specs, we're going to go, instead of showing you immediately the tech spec on him, we're going to do you one better. As soon as we get Grimlock back here out of the way, we have rather sorry looking box, but hey, it's a box. So you can see how he was set up. Love this picture here on the front of Grimlock. That just shows some imposing It's just an imposing, well done picture of him. But as you can see, the sword is done more like how the Diaclone one was. It's done in chrome. You can look here on the top of the box. It shows the slow transforming of him. And again, here on the end, it shows that sword in chrome rather than in red plastic. And on the sides, kind of shows just, once again, the robot and the alternate mode. And carries over on the bottom. On the back side here, we have the 1985 mural that more or less highlighted the Dinobots and, to some degree, the Insecticons, but also featured some of the other new characters that were being brought into the line in 1985, such as Jetfire, Trax, and one of my favorites, Shockwave. And then down below, we would have the tech specs. And then over on this side, it would have the barcode, and this cutout area here would be where the robot points were. But the previous owner obviously stole those off. So I hope they managed to get some nice toy by submitting those. Now we'll bring this up here and take a good look at his tech spec. As you can see, it's got a portrait of him here. It matches the one that was right here on the front of the box, complete with the chrome sword. It's done in red to show he's an Autobot, but it lists him as Dinobot. It gives his name as Grimlock, and his function is Dinobot Commander. His motto is, "Among the winners, there is no room for the weak." Most fearsome and powerful Dinobot, although dedicated to the Autobot cause, resents authority. Cold, merciless, but a valiant warrior, has contempt for the weak, including all humans. Great strength, uses jaws to break almost anything in two. Carries Energo Sword and Galaxial Rocket Launcher in Dinobot mode. That's a bit of an inconsistency because he can't carry any of his weapons in the dinosaur mode. Other than arrogance and a lack of speed, has no real weaknesses. Well, let's take a look at how that translates on the tech spec stats, if I can hold this thing steady enough for it. It gives his strength as a perfect 10, his intelligence is 7, his speed is 3, so it does kind of indicate he is very slow. His endurance is 10, his rank is 9, his courage is 10, his firepower is 8, and his skill is 10, so that does translate pretty well. Grimlock is a very powerful warrior, slow, and arrogant, of course, but powerful. Bring him back into frame here, and we'll get to what do I think of him. It's hard to put Grimlock exactly into words without at least going over a little bit of the history behind his connection here to me. My brother is dyslexic, and that suffered onto him a lot as a child due to it also manifested as a slight speech impediment. So, seeing Grimlock and the funny way that he talked all the time on the cartoon made him an instant favorite to my brother. That's the owner of this model of Grimlock here that stands before you. So thanks, little bro, for the contributing Grimlock here to the channel. Grimlock has always been a fan favorite character. And even though most try to claim that he's stupid just because of the way he talks, that more, according to the More Than Meets the Eye guide, seems to be a small processing glitch inside of him. His vocal processors give him this speech impediment, so he ends up talking kind of funny. The last quotation that I threw at you from the beginning of the video of Grimlock came from an audio recording that Greg Berger did to advertise his book of his various voice acting roles. And that was the line he gave it was one of the lines he gave when bringing out Grimlock. Grimlock often is said to be using that as a foil to his adversaries. They tend to underestimate him by thinking since he talks stupid, he is stupid. And in reality, as you saw in the tech spec, with him having a score of 7 on his intelligence, Grimlock is not a stupid character in the slightest. And to add to that point, neither is anybody else who may talk funny like that. So if there are any haters out there watching this video, to you. As a toy, Grimlock's a fairly average toy. He's certainly not the best, but he is still a pretty good toy. He is very solid. The robot mode suffers a little bit from articulation, but that's more down to how he was designed than anything else. The dinosaur mode more than makes up for having articulation troubles, since it has considerably more and definitely is very, very fun to play with. So as to where to rank him, Grimlock's got to go on the top tier. There is just no hesitation about it. This version especially has to be among the top tier of the toys. The popularity and continued enduring legacy of Grimlock secures him a spot on the top tier, and it all stems from this toy and how he was portrayed in the classic cartoon and in the comic books. Grimlock may be a rebel and somebody that annoys the heck out of Optimus Prime and many of the other devoted Autobots, but you certainly can't beat him when it comes to popularity. Grimlock is a top tier figure all the way. And this concludes my review of the Generation 1 Autobot Dinobot Commander Grimlock. If you like the video, thumbs up it here on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button down below. Post a comment. Share this video with other collectors. Help support and keep this channel going. This is Sparkster1701 saying catch you all later.